Good afternoon. My name is Stu Bottorf, and I am a member of the Tampa Bay Computer Society. Been here for going on 30 years, attending meetings, but actually a member for like 27 years. We have just completed 2 classes for Chromebooks at our it's been kind of interesting, and I wanted to tell you about it. In the tech news, you'll see PC sales are falling. Sales are down like 10%. Corporations are starting to find Chromebooks could keep them with better uptimes and cheaper costs. And Chromebooks now actually outsell Windows laptops. These are trends. In education, the process started like 3 years ago. Schools started to buy into Chromebooks. And you'll notice that Chromebooks are used in many places in education, but schools are districts are buying these, and they are starting to give one to every student. And the student is responsible for them. Tests are taken on them. And these are tools that are used in schools. You'll notice this last article I brought up says that in schools, there's now 10 million Chromebook users. And this article is about 2 months old. I'd say the number is greater than that today. Chrome comes in 4 different hardware types. The one the one we use and the one we'll see mostly is the Chromebook. But there's also a Chromebox. There's a Chrome base, and just this fall came out the Chromebit. I want to tell you about each of them. Chromebooks are made by almost every hardware maker. They start in price around $150 and go up to around $400, depending upon what's in the box. Google does manufacture or market their own Chromebook Pixel that sells new for $1,500, but that has superior graphics on it, more superior than the more expensive Mac Retina display. And the Mac Retina display was previously an exclusive. Now Google is making the display that's 2,500 by 1,700 pixels. Very, very high quality graphic. Chromebooks come normally with a camera built into the lid, a microphone that's in the keyboard, and a hard drive of some sort. Older units used a mechanical hard drive. Units today are using solid state devices. They come with 2 gigabytes of RAM. In the older units, today the units tend to be 4 gigabytes. We're finding the newer, cheaper units coming out actually have superior hardware inside. Most of the newer units from Korea and China have a quad-core processor and 4 gigs of RAM. Some of the ones from HP and others do not. The Chromebox is a little fanless 4x4 by 1 inch box that uses a laptop power supply to get its power, and has HDMI and audio outputs and a few USB 2 outputs. These boxes are normally hidden away somewhere. In business, digital signage is starting to use these a lot. Behind all those digital signs you see, this is probably the cheapest device you could put behind the sign and have it controlled from afar. And the Chromebook sells for like $200. And one of my students bought one of these this spring, so I got to actually use it. It's pretty much the same as a Chromebook. The only thing is, even at the higher cost, it has no screen, and it has no camera, and it has no mic. So some of those things you'd have to look at if you were going to use it in your home. The Chrome base is an all-in-one unit. Everything is put together with a touch screen, and this unit is, they normally make them in larger sizes, so they tend to be a little pricier than the Chromebooks. They might be up more in the $400 range. Businesses now are starting to get these marketed to them as face-to-face conferencing devices. And they're going to do that using Google Hangouts. I have not worked with a Chrome base. They look nice, but they are pricey. A Chromebook, by the way, sells for about $200. I bought a Chromebit this fall. They just came out, and I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I believe you can. The Chromebit has an HDMI male connector on one end. It's got a USB 2 connection in the rear end, and it has a power brick that plugs in halfway along the side, and it gets its power. ASUS is making these, and they're selling them for $85. These are really meant to go behind a flat screen TV, and that's where mine sits. I put it behind the flat screen TV, and now I have a truly smart TV. And it uses the laptop brick, and I bought a Logitech wireless mouse and keyboard, and I plugged the dongle in the USB port, and everything works fine across the living room. A 12-inch, they also give you a 12-inch male to female plug to plug the HDMI into the TV to make up for how all TVs have different HDMI ports, and to make that TV go flat against the wall. I find this works good, and I've taken it down to the clubhouse. It works fine there. There are some advantages to Chrome OS. It uses a stateless operating system. I'll explain that in a minute. It's got the low purchase cost, fast boot speeds. Usually I'm up and running in 20 seconds. Extended battery life, because we aren't drawing that much power. It automatically updates itself, and there is no antivirus software. Antivirus software is not required, and it's not expected to be used. I want to show you something on sandboxing, a short little video.
A Chromebook is a lot safer to use than a regular computer. It's designed to keep your browser secure and protect against the bad things that are out there on the web. On your Chromebook, each website and web application you open runs as a separate and independent process in a restricted environment called the sandbox. Sandboxing is a feature built right into the operating system to enhance security. Here's how it works. Let's say you open 3 different websites in 3 different tabs. Sandboxing keeps each website isolated from the others. So, if you open a website that's been infected by malware, they can't affect the other tabs in your browser or anything else in your machine. The threat is contained in one tab, and even if that tab crashes, the other tabs will continue to run normally. Every time you boot your Chromebook, it does a self-check called verified boot. If it detects that your OS has been tampered with or corrupted, the OS will be restored automatically from a known good backup. And if a backup is unavailable, you can download one yourself from the cloud. Your Chromebook will be as good as new as if nothing happened. And what's really great? Your Chromebook does everything on its own, with its built-in security features, keeping you and your data safe. So you can breathe just a little bit easier when you're out there on the web.
Chromebooks use apps instead of programs like we normally would use on our Windows computers. And the apps and extensions, many of them are third party, but as you'll find, lots of them are Google too. And Google has branded their product well and has put in many apps that do a remarkable job. You can beware, some apps cost money, some are not free, and some involve monthly subscription costs. So read the fine print well before you install them. You'll notice that these almost all say free. The star of a Google experience is Google Drive, which we can also experience and use with our personal computers, whether they be Windows, Mac, or Linux. Google allows 15 gigabytes of cloud storage for each Google login user. You may store anything in this space: movies, backups, anything legal. Out of the box, Google Drive offers 3 different sharing options besides privacy. You may allow others to view your content, to comment on your content, or to edit your files. This is easily configured from the file manager. Unlike computer programs, you never need to remember to save an item or an edit in Google Drive. Drive saves everything, and they're instant and automatic for documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. Don't worry if a network goes down. Everything is safely saved. Google Drive offers Office-like applications for word processing, spreadsheets, and presentations that mimic Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. The Google names are Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Google saves everything you post in its own format, but you can download these files with DOCX, XLSX, and PPTX suffixes. You may import Microsoft files or keep them in their native format, but Drive can't edit or view files unless they are in Google format. One sweet feature is that all files created and stored in Google Drive do not count against that 15 gigabyte online storage limit. The file manager is pretty simple. You can see on this slide was my file management about a week ago, and you'll notice that if you look on the left-hand side, I only am using 2 gigabytes out of 19 gigabytes used. You can create new files here. You can create folders and subfolders and subfolders, just like you can in Windows. In fact, this kind of reminds me of the old Windows Explorer. maybe the Windows Explorer was back in XP or Win98, back a long ways. The little icon that's next, that is opposite these, some of these files show that they are shared, so you can see that. Chromebooks come with a gesture pad instead of a trackpad. I don't gesture well, especially for right finger clicks. So I opt to use a wireless mouse and dongle with my Chromebook. Some of the folks in my class have learned how to do the gesturing quite well, but I have not got there yet. But don't be alarmed. It works just fine the other way. Chromebooks cannot directly connect to a printer, so we have three options. We need to set up and configure Google Cloud Print. Option C, as you can see on this graphic, would mean that you'd send every print job that you created on your Chromebook to a print shop, and it would be professionally printed and sitting there for you when you went to the store. Option B would be if you bought a cloud-ready printer. If your printer is specified as cloud-ready, it can work directly from your Chromebook. You have to follow the printer directions to hook it up, but it will work fine. Option A is the one I have working here at home and at our club office. You need a working computer printer combination. So I have a desktop computer and a printer in my house, and I have one at the club office. And you must install the Google Cloud, you must install the Google Chrome browser on that computer. And then in the settings page for Google Chrome, you set up that printer and you set up sharing for that printer. And then when that is done, you can send a test print job from that computer to the printer. It will work. And then you can go back to your Chromebook and you can go into its Google settings, and you'll find that the printer is available, and that you'll find it listed, and all you have to do is use it, press the print key, and the print job goes through the cloud, comes to the print server, and prints on the printer. We've actually turned this little auxiliary computer into a print server. Once this is set up, you can use it to print anything from any other computer, from smartphones, from pads. But once the Google Cloud Print is set up, it can print from any source. 2 recent Chromebook classes, we installed some basic apps from the Chrome store. Gmail Offline and Google Calendar. Both of these let you download some information and keep it locally on the drive. And you can update that information. And then if you were away from the network, it will sync automatically the next time you go back online. It's actually a nice feature, and it allows the Chromebook to be used in different places, and it can do real work. You can now use it on a plane, and you can use it away from the cloud. COG is a simple little hardware viewer. I've got a picture of it, and it just shows the hardware that's on your Chromebook. And this is my older 3-year-old Chromebook. And you'll notice it shows that I have an Intel processor, a dual core. It shows I've got 2 gigs of RAM. And on the right side, you'll see it says it gives my battery state and where my monitor is set and how my keyboard is set up. And this is just a nice utility. And I thought this was nice to give people because they can compare their hardware with other people. And if something's wrong, maybe you can troubleshoot it yourself from this point. Using Google Docs, Google's word processor, we all tried Google Voice Recognition. Now, this works surprisingly well, even with 8 or 10 people in one room simultaneously speaking into their keyboard mics. Remember, voice recognition is different than Google Voice, which is the Google phone service, or Google Talk, which is a messaging service. One thing you have to be careful of is don't leave that mic on. For personal security, I normally keep the mic off and never control the Chromebook or search via voice. But for doing word processing, this works nice. Google Voice Recognition, and it's built right into the product. At another session, we concentrated on Google Drive. This was our most challenging class and was learning to use docs, sheets, and slides. As a class, we either created or edited files of all 3 types. I'm sure most of these people will never build their own spreadsheet or a presentation, but everyone should be able to use docs for word processing, and they probably now have an appreciation for what a spreadsheet and a presentation involves putting together. We also exported our files of all types to Microsoft format and downloaded them so we could use them on another computer. I demoed Google Drive sharing by emailing students links of all the files we used each week for the class. All class members added an additional 2 gigabytes of online storage with Dropbox. Dropbox has some nice features, and we can use it from our Chromebook. We all added uBlock Origin to improve the browser page loading speed. We added remote access, and I left the students control my screen with their mouses, and it works surprisingly well. Google Remote Access is very nice. I suggested also going between browsers using LastPass and Xmarks, two utilities that allow you to save bookmarks and passwords between Firefox and Google Chrome browsers. The only thing you need to be careful about is Google has its own sharing utility, and it needs to be turned off. So you can't use them both together. If you're going to use Xmarks, turn Google off, or vice versa. So we did the cloud printing to a Windows computer with a legacy parallel port HP laser printer, and it works fine. And it's still here, and I can go from my house, the 12 miles down to the club office, and print things there whenever I wish. The top row of a Chromebook has special nomenclature on the keys. Sometimes they're listed as F keys, but most times they're not. There's just a nomenclature that is there. And the way you can find out what is on those keys is hold down the Control, Alt, and question mark. and you'll bring up a screen. And then when that screen comes up, you can push down Shift or Control or Alt and see what the combinations are that are available. Here I showed one that where I held down the Control key. And you'll notice I can do some things on the top like mirror monitors or take a screenshot if I push certain keys and the Control key. But you'll also notice down on the row where A and S is, Control A is still all, Control S is save, Control Z is undo, Control C is copy, Control V is paste. We use several of the same controls that you use in Windows, and it seems real easy to adapt to these keys. On Skype, there is no native Chromebook Skype app. You can install one Android app with two different tweaks. And the names of those tweaks are Arc Welder and Twerk. You can find information if you Google around. Both of them are advertised as trying to make the Skype app work in the Chrome OS setting. But Skype had issues with the two Chromebooks I tried to install this on. I was able to make a call with Skype, but we weren't able to hear the discussion. When people answered the phone, we could hear noise, but we couldn't accurately make out what the voice was saying. So this time, Skype really isn't usable on the Chromebooks I've tried. Google Hangouts, on the other hand, gives really superior results. And it does require a Google Plus account. So you might want to try this. I believe up to 12 people can be connected on one Hangout. But we did this the other day at a SIG meeting, and we were connecting from Android phones, and we did quite well. And we got to learn Hangouts could be a valuable tool. The bottom character, the blue character here, is for Zoom. Unfortunately, this time Zoom does not support Chromebooks. That's the software we're using today for this show. And I have heard from Andrew at Zoom and from Judy Talor that the Zoom Chrome solution will be operational by June 30th, but it's not available today. In the Chromebook tray, there are at least 13 different things you can find. You can see notifications would be down here at the bottom in the black box. A network connection, you can see if you're connected, you can see which network you're on. Bluetooth, if you're using it, it's got a status. Video monitor. If this doesn't show it here, but if you connect an external monitor, you have the ability to mirror your display of your Chromebook screen or extend the display. And you can switch it here at this point. The audio volume is set here. The settings, if you want to get into Google Chrome settings quickly, you can get into it right here. The battery health is seen here. You can see what your battery is and how it's working. The time, the calendar, at the top, the picture and the sign out buttons. There's a question mark on the right above the speaker icon here. This has a lot of good Google help. If someone's having trouble, I suggest you send them here. It would show them something. If there's updates, it will show it here with this icon, the upward icon in the blue, and you also will see this on your pop-up screen. And when the next time when you restart, the update will be made. You can stop and you can lock the screen. All these take place on screen. What can I do if something goes wrong? This, I got to try some of this. There is a reset function, and you get to there by going in the Google Chrome settings, and you go to advanced controls, and these two options, reset and power wash, are in the advanced settings. Reset is, I have not used it, but they say it will work sometimes if you've got persistent problems that you can't figure out. Try the reset first. The other option is power wash. This option removes all the personal data from the Chromebook. It actually wipes the Chrome OS operating system off the internal drive and loads a new copy. There is a copy of your drive and loads that copy onto the hard drive. And then afterwards, you'd have to, it will do the updates. So Power Wash takes about 20 minutes to complete. Power Wash is very complete, and I got to use this. One of our class participants, before he got the mouse out, was trying to use his trackpad, and somehow he got the language messed up for the Chromebook. And he got the language messed up in the, it was Hebrew that he became locked into. And he couldn't figure out what to do. I ended up bringing the Chromebook home, and I couldn't figure out what it was trying to say. Hebrew reads from right to left, and I wasn't smart enough to realize that when I began. And also, the Google buttons tend to be reversed from the way you'd see them on an English screen. Finally, I couldn't figure out what to do, and I put in my Google account when we started up the unit, and I hit enter, and then I put in my password, and bingo, I was logged into his Chromebook that he had set up for Hebrew, but I was all in English because my credentials follow with me from Google. Google says I need English. Once I saw this, I didn't know what to do other than power wash, get rid of everything on the screen. So I clicked the power wash and waited for the updates to go through, then got him back on and found out that the system was quite okay. So power wash really works. I got to see it in action. There is one more deeper utility you can use, and you need a computer to do this. And a 4 GB or greater USB memory stick. And what you do is go to the Google site, and it will help you identify the exact Chromebook you have. And it will find the software for you to download to put on that. And you'll actually get a zip file down that is the whole operating system for the Chromebook. It comes down and you put it on the memory stick, and it actually opens up the zip file all by itself. And then you put it into the Chromebook and start it up, and it will redo the Chromebook from the downloaded file. It works quite well. And I have done that, and it works fine. There are some other things. Lookalikes. Lookalikes, remember, lookalike is something that's supposed to be flattery, an imitation. And Chromium OS is kind of, it's Google Chrome, but it's the open source version of Google Chrome. If you look on this screen, this green and yellow and red and blue icon is the Chrome icon. This one over here on the left is a chromium icon. It's all blue. There's some things chromium cannot do. It can't interpret HTML5. You can't use it to see Netflix films directly. And so there are some things Chromium can't do, but it can do most of them. You can set up the cloud print. You can do those things. There's a company called Neverware that came out with a cloud-ready system, and they have made some money licensing this software to schools that had old XP computers. The idea is you took an XP computer that had like 1 gig or 2 gigs of RAM on it and converted it into a Chromium OS, which almost is a Chromebook. And so they've converted these computers over. And Neverware licenses this software to schools, but they allow us as users to download it for free. So I've got a computer laptop here where I've got it on. We've demoed it at the club. It's an interesting system, but it does work. The computer was not fast before I began, and it's not fast with this either. There's another Chromium OS derivative called Neu OS. I don't know anything about it. And there's a version of Chromium OS for the Raspberry Pi mini computer. In Linux, there's been at least one lookalike. Someone came out with a product called Chromixium. Google has since convinced them not to use that word, and now it's called Linux Cub, and it's Ubuntu. It's a very nice makeover of the Ubuntu program, and I swear you wouldn't know it wasn't a Chromebook when you start it up. It looks very nice, and Linux Cub is the name of that, and you can download that for free. And there's a new software out called Gallium OS, which runs on a Chromebook. Most Chromebooks have a different hardware set, and you can't run a lot of software on. Gallium supposedly runs on a Chromebook. And Crouton is the old standard we use to run Linux side by side with Chrome OS. So let me conclude this by asking, why do you suppose an open source Linux guy like me would recommend a Chromebook? Google Chrome and Android are built on the Linux kernel. So they are a little bit Linux, but Google Chrome OS is proprietary and it's closed source. Richard Stallman would not be happy with me. Chrome just works without any fuss. And I found that for a certain group of users, that works just fine. Non-techies and casual users easily use Chrome, and they like it. And they don't see any problems with not being able to do the higher level things we're able to do with Windows or iOS. It's got a small entry cost, and there's no lurking hardware or software disasters. This thing just works out of the box, and it's worked for the last 3 years. Chrome's simplicity is attracting new casual users. And I just want to say, these days, we have dwindling numbers of long-term computer experimenters and builders in our clubs. We see this in our club attendance. New casual users, though, are buying Chromebooks at Walmart and Target and do welcome some basic hand-holding. I've met some enthusiastic new TBCS members in my Chromebook classes this spring. I avoid recommending Chromebooks to 5 different groups of people, and maybe you can understand why. Hardcore Mac users, and Windows or Office experts. Notice I avoided using the word Apple zealot and said nothing disrespectful about Microsoft. People that have learned to use these programs over the years have a tremendous investment of time in the product. And I understand that investment. They aren't willing to see it go into a Chromebook where they'll have a new investment of time. So they want to use the investment they have in the present programs. Photographers and Photoshop users, there is a couple of online utilities for editing photos, but none of them are going to equal Photoshop. And every Photoshop user I've ever met, their learning curve has been so drastic that they're just tied to that program. So I don't recommend them for those. For accountants and QuickBook users, a Chromebook really isn't a numbers computer. So it wouldn't appeal to those kind of people. It doesn't have a numeric keypad and those things. And gamers, you can't get the good games on a Chromebook. There are games, but not the ones the gamers want. And maybe you. I thank you for listening today and listening through this presentation, and possibly you know someone who could benefit from a Chromebook. You can help them make an informed decision. I also thank John Kennedy, the APCUG Zoom expert, for his personal support in helping me several times throughout this year and today. I've left this slide up at the end. If you have questions, get back to me. My email is sbottorf@gmail.com, and my website is fossig.com, fossig.com. I have left some things online if you'd like to take advantage of them. If your club would like to do a 4-week Chromebook class, 2 hours a week, 8 hours total, I've got the whole lesson plan written out. You can take it. All my examples, they're all online. They're there for free. This presentation is up there for free. By the way, this presentation was produced in Google Chrome, and this is Google Slides. I didn't do this in PowerPoint or the LibreOffice alternative. This was all done in Google Docs, and I am a proud member of the Tampa Bay Computer Society. We are located in Clearwater, Florida. If you come down here for winter or move down for the winter season, we have lots of members from Canada and northern states. We'd love to see you too. We're online. You can find us at that link I've left up here. And I guess that will take care of me for today. John, are you listening?
Of course, and you give me too much credit. I do have one question you answered was people had asked about whether a Chromebook had Bluetooth, and when you went into your settings, you showed that.
Right.
But I need to double check on one of the first slides you showed that had all of the features of a Chromebook. The first one was something new to me, and you said you're going to come back to that, but I don't know for sure if you did. It's the slide that had all the different, like 8 different features.
No, I know what I think I know what you mean. You meant this one here, and I can pull it back up again. I said the stateless operating system. The little movie explained the stateless operating system.
Okay.
Is that that the stateless operating system means that everything works in its own sandbox someplace.
Okay.
And
I knew about containers and stuff like that, but I wasn't quite sure your terminology of the stateless one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a new way of saying it.
Yeah. So I took care of that one. You had mentioned that you got 15 gigs free of cloud storage, but yet in your slide, you showed us that you were only using 2 of 19.
Yeah. Google gives away 2 extra now and then, and I've participated twice. So they've given me 2 extra twice. One because I did the security analysis, and I forgot why I got the other.
Okay.
Maybe they both came from the security analysis. I think that's what happened, because somebody in my club said that you couldn't, or my SIG said you couldn't do it twice, and I did it twice, and they gave it to me twice. So I don't know why.
Okay. Couple of other quick questions.
Sure.
Connecting to the internet, are you doing it wirelessly? Are you wired?
Most Chromebooks don't have a wired connection. Mine happens to have one, but I use a wireless. Wireless works just fine, and I can take it to the club, use it here at home, and I don't plug it in very often.
Okay. Does the Chromebooks, is it the more expensive ones, do they have USB 3 ports?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess that's something we'd have to look at. I would imagine they will, but so much of this we buy hardware that was put together for last Christmas, so we're buying the hardware that's already on the shelf.
Okay, good. 2 more questions. One, power source. You have a battery in it and you have AC?
Yes.
So you can do either way, good.
Right.
And just a curious thing, when you're talking about the Hebrew part, you said you logged in. So that means that if I came to your house and I logged in, your Chromebook would pretty much become my Chromebook?
No, it's your login. It's your Google login. It's your Google email address, and then your Google password. And Google a long time ago went to this one login for everything. And I guess they know I use the English language. And somehow David, in using his computer, I'm sure it was inadvertent. He pushed some buttons and didn't know what he did, and somehow selected Hebrew. And it was just none of us could figure out how he did it, but we know how we fixed it.
Okay. Well, what it sounds like to me is that you're saying that if I log in, I can make use of all of my cloud stuff and whatever, but I can't access any of your files because that's under that one.
Right. I've made myself 2 users since I've done the club. Google kind of tells you don't make more than 1 user. But I was having trouble trying to see what the student would see. So I made a student Stu account and my account. So I've got a student Stu that's also got 15 gigabytes of space, but I haven't put anything in it. But at least now I'm able to log in as a student and see what is shared online.
Okay. How about going back to your final slide again for people who want to take emails and stuff like that as we finish up. So this definitely sounds like a good thing. If people are interested in learning more about the Chrome, you're going to be our go-to Chrome guy. Okay. And so we'll do that.
Well, I've got all that information. It's up there. Please use it, because I'm getting old and nobody's going to use my stuff. I don't want to sell it. I just want you to use it.
Oh, okay. Well, we thank you, Stu, for sharing with us again and sharing about the Chromebook. I'm sure there's a lot more that's going to be coming into the future, and maybe even doing something more about those Chrome sticks and things like that. So we thank Stu. We're going to take another short break, and then we'll be back with our final presentation with Francis. So everybody can do their stretch and whatever, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes.